back, everybody. All right, and as you can see here, we have a Texas state map. So far we've been talking about compasses, and then we touched on north a little bit, and now we're getting into maps. Let's open this up, and we'll get into it a little bit further. Now, the first thing that we did talk about when it was map north. So see here, this is their little symbol on here. Some of them will have north, south, east, and west on there, but this one just has your north. But that's fine. It tells you which way to orient this map when you're looking at it. So we know this way is north. Okay, now the next thing, if we notice here, if we look right here, right there it says 29 degrees north, 94 degrees west. Those are your longitude and latitude lines. So all these little grids here. So if you've ever seen an old movie or you hear anybody talking about your latitude and your longitude, that's what they're referring to. And as you can see, all these little grid squares on the map, how they're all broken up into these squares. So say you're lost somewhere, perhaps at sea, you're right here, or you're somewhere up here on the map, but there's no city, although Texas is pretty populated, so it's kind of hard to find a place in there. But you may be up in the northwest, up in Canada, Vancouver, and you're in the middle of the forest. Well, you can actually use this longitude and this latitude if you're lost to find out where you're at. All right, so next, moving on, we're going to move up here to the top of the map, and we're going to get to the legend. So now the map legend is very important. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. So as you can see here, they use a pink dot for a point of interest. So if we look around on the map here, let's see what we can find. Okay, come right over here. So right here, Nemus, Thinkery, a mall, those are points of interest. And so the map will mark your points of interest as places where you might want to go to. Now, if you see here how they have a black plane and a blue plane. So these are airports. The black ones are military, the blue ones are commercial. So if we look on the map here, all right, so if we come over here, we have a blue plane here. That's a commercial airport. And if there's a black plane, it's a military airport. Back up to the top here. Now as you can see, the next thing on here, we have a green flag and a blue H. So if you look on the map, anywhere you find a green flag, that's going to be a golf course, and then the blue H is going to be a hospital. Now hospitals are very important to know where they're at. And so if you have a map, you can find out where the hospitals are at. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can find one rather quickly. Doesn't look like it. Okay, anyway, moving on. So that's how you identify your hospital. Now, these gray, it's just a gray bar here. Those are military installations. So if you have a map, and if there's a military installation, you can easily find it like that. Now, somewhere on here, we should be able to find the hood. All right, let's do this real fast. So, if we zoom in, this area right here, underneath the LP in El Paso, where it says Fort Bliss, that's shaded gray because that is a military base. And technically, there should be a black airplane in there because Biggs Airfield is there, and that is a military airport. All right. Now then, all right, back to our, all right, so next we have ports of entry, and there's several of these flags along the border because we do border Mexico. So you find those two little flags there, and you'll find your port of entry. And then next to that, we do have our gas station. Now, if you're going along I-10, you'll see a lot of those stations along I-10. You'll see your gas stations, as well as the next two. You have these little house-looking things or benches. Those are rest areas. A solid blue one means there's toilets. An empty one means that there is no toilets. So, scroll down here to I-10. So as you can see here, these two, they're empty. There's no toilets there. As we cruise along I-10, up here, you have two that are solid blue. Those means that they have toilets. And I'm sure that somewhere along here, if we follow these roads, we're going to see a gas station. Usually you'll find them along the interstates, but at any rate. But that's what you look for. That's how you know where you have your services. Alright. Now then here, if you have a little skier, that's a ski area. And the question mark, of course, is going to be tourist information. Those ones, you usually find those along the borders, like when you first enter. Alright, so next, moving over here, we do have our parks. And if they have a little tent next to the tree, there's campsites. If it's just a tree, there's no campsites. And then you see here, just like we have a tent next to the tree there, if we have a tent, then it's a campsite. And these things are going to be all over because, you know, KOA has places all over the place. And then these here, those are usually along the roadways. That's pretty much just like a picnic park, you know, park bench where you can pull off to the side of the road and you can get yourself a lunch. And then your different colors are your different types of parks. National Forest or City Park, National Park, other National Park or State Park. Those ones there, if you're looking on the map, they all kind of blend together. We're going to come over here a little bit. As you can see right here, you've got Fort Richardson State Park and Historical Site. You have campsites in a forest, here. And we're going to get into what all these colors mean in another episode. So then, of course, over here you have area covered in detail map. Now, when it says detail map, it's talking about these right here. Like this is Austin. This is a detail map of Austin. You have a detail map of Beaumont, Byron College Station, El Paso. So some maps are just the state. Others actually break it down into the different cities inside the state. All right, now then, you have your state capital and you have your county seats, which are just identified by a star and just like by a black circle. Incorporated place and unincorporated places, those really aren't that important, but you'll see those dots all over, and it just means that if it's incorporated, it's pretty much an established like little city. If it's just like that, a clear white one, it's just there. It's not really incorporated. And then you have your time zone. Now the time zone, we can show you a time zone if we come down here, because just this side of El Paso, put the map over. So as you can see here, this pink line right there goes like that. So this is mountain, and this is central time zones. So that pretty much means that you're good. Your hours are going to change. All right, now, and then you do have the historic Route 66. I'm not sure. I don't think it hits. It hits like right at the very top. There's not much of it in Texas, but there you go. And then you have free limited access highways, toll roads, multi-lane highways, principal highways, other through highways. That just, whatever road you're on, those colors there is going to help you know which one you're on. So if you need to be on an interstate, you're going to look for your correct, which is going to be right over here. You have other roads, unpaved roads, scenic routes, and then here, these are your types. You have your interstates, you have your U.S. highways, you have your state highways, and those we can, so like if you're looking along here, if we come down here, see this is Interstate 10, that's State Highway 90. A lot of times they'll overlap. Here we have Spur 360, and then, so that spur is a farm or ranch or market or secondary state highway. And then, of course, you do have your round ones. If we come over here a ways, we're going to see that we have 43, and that's your State Highway 43. Now, the other important thing is your scale. So, and this is something where if you have like paracord or fishing line or something that's actually malleable, a lot of people, rulers aren't really good for this because, see, 1 inch represents approximately 35 miles. Well, if we're just going to come over here a little bit. So let's say that we're on this. Say we have to get from the Texas Military Forest Museum, right? And we are traveling to, let's say we are going to, we'll come up here to Wells Branch. Well, as you can see, it's not a straight shot. So if you have like a rope, you can put a rope in here, and you can follow this along, right? And then you follow it, and then you can curve it along the roadway, and then we can cut the corner here, and then bring it up here. And then what you can do is you can put that rope up against a ruler, and you'll actually be able to know approximately how many miles you're going to be traveling. So, now then for the rest of this, we're going to flip this over here. I'm going to show you something else. So as you can see here, here we have a list of all the cities. And as you can see, we have like EF4, WQ11, EB7. So, like Denver City is going to be located at WI8. And so, if you look over here, on the side of the map here, you have WI. So we're somewhere in there. Then on the top of the map, we have an 8. So if you follow 8 down, you're going to come down to where you get to there's Denver City. And if you go across, that is in WI. So a lot of maps will have this city guide here, so that way you're able to actually find out where the city is at on the map. And so that's important. Like say you are traveling from, say, El Paso to Lubbock. Well, if you're not sure where Lubbock is on the map, you can always just come up into here and you can go, okay, Lubbock is in WG10. You can look at your map and you can identify exactly where it is on the map. Now, I know that my wife was like, why do you have a map? Nobody uses maps anymore. And that's true. A lot of people don't use maps because we have our phones, we have GPSs. But if there's a solar flare, if, say, that the cyber hackers take out the power grid or the cell phone grid, or say there's just, say that we have, I don't know, a Chinese spy balloon that flies across the United States and detonates a high altitude explosion, we could have an EMP that knocks out our GPSs. So what are you going to do? You got to use a map. That's why maps are important. And understanding how the map is set up and what everything means on the map is equally important. Now later we're going to go into what all these different colors mean on the map, because everything is colored for a reason. But we're going to talk about that next week. Alright, so if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Do me a big favor, hit that thumbs up for me down there. And then if you haven't already, please hit that notification. Make sure all bells are on. This will be the second video today because I missed yesterday, but yesterday's went up this morning, and so here's today's. All right. Have a great day. Keep prepping.